do you do before you call a technician? If you're a homeowner out there and your air conditioner, your heater goes out and you don't have any heater cooling, there's some things that you need to check before you call a technician because it could save you some money. It could be the problem, and you as a homeowner have the power to be able to fix the issue without the technician's help, and then you save money. Today you're watching Tips for Homeowners. I'm Tad. If you have questions, leave those in the comments. I'll try to answer your questions by making content. And if you want more videos, check out my playlist, Tips for Homeowners. Today's video is, what do you do before you call a technician to your home? And the first thing I want to tell you is, check your filter. You need to change your filter if it's dirty. This right here can cause a high limit switch. If you have a gas furnace and it's not passing enough airflow, then this could be your issue. You could change your filter, then the unit can breathe, and then you might be able to save yourself a service call. Now, if you do have a high limit switch, there's something else you might need to do, and that is you need to check your breaker box, and you might need to turn your breaker off to reset your unit, because some units have a control board, and that control board will, usually if it has an error code, it'll blink or flash a certain amount of times, and then there's some status LEDs with a little description of what it is. Like 7 times could be a lockout to where it didn't like the burners, or it could be a limit switch, rollout switch. Anyways, what you need to do next is you need to find your breaker box. You need to find out where your unit is. If this is your unit, you need to turn it off, okay? Now, if you have high efficiency equipment, that means it may take 5, 10, 15 minutes to discharge all of the voltage so that the board can reset. On most conventional equipment, it doesn't take very long. You just take the breaker, you turn it off, and then you turn it back on, okay? And that's something you need to check before you call a technician. And resetting your unit may be a good thing. It may try to light again. So I would definitely recommend, after you check your filter, you definitely check the breaker box and you reset the breaker that powers the equipment. If you don't know what breaker it is, turn your main off, okay? Then you can turn it right back on, and you might have to reset the stove or the microwave or some timers, your clock, but that's okay. At least you'll have heat. If it's really, really cold, it'll matter to you. Now, speaking of airflow, this right here is a floor grill, okay? You might have a floor grill, or you might have a ceiling grill. Either way, you need to make sure that this right here is open, okay? You need to open all your vents. Low airflow is the #1 problem in the field, and if you have low airflow, then it might cause your unit to have a fault, okay? So definitely check all your vents and make sure they're open. Now, the other thing that you need to do is you need to make sure that if your thermostat has batteries, that the batteries are not corroded behind the thermostat and that the batteries are good. And if you have a low battery situation, your screen will go blank, or it'll say low battery. Now this one right here, it actually doesn't have batteries, okay? But yours may, and you may have to take it apart to find the batteries. This one right here, you push the mode button, it goes to heating. The mode button goes to cooling. Mode button, it goes to auto. And this brings me to the next thing you need to check. You need to turn your fan on and make sure your fan runs, okay? The more information that you can give the technician, the better it is. You need to tell them, hey, my temperature in my house is 70. I've got it set for 80. It's not working. Another thing you need to know is that if you have a heat pump and it's not high efficiency, then you'll probably have heat strips. So if it's an emergency situation, it's 10 degrees outside, you can actually switch your heater to emergency heat, and then you've got heat for the weekend. If you don't want to call out a technician, maybe there's an extra cost that might be associated with you calling somebody out on the weekend, and you can actually avoid that extra cost, turn on emergency heat, and then they'll get there during the week. Another tip before we go is I want to tell you that you need to visually inspect your equipment to make sure there's no obstruction, to make sure there's no really loud noise, that there's no huge damage that's been done. I know that there's been trees that have fallen on equipment in the past, and there has been ice in outdoor fan blades. There's been compressors that are basically operating in a high pressure situation to where it can cause further damage. Outdoor fan motors going out, for instance, during the air conditioning mode can cause the compressor to operate in a very, very harmful, damaging way to the compressor. So you need to make sure that you visually inspect, and if the unit needs to be shut off, that you're there, you can shut it off. There's no further damage that's done until the technician does arrive and can perform the maintenance or the repair that's required. Also, definitely make sure you get maintenance on your equipment. Every year, once a year, you need maintenance. There's coils that need to be cleaned. There's capacitors that need to be checked. There's contactors and relays. They may have pitted contacts, different things like that they need regular maintenance. So you have to go outside. You may have to actually inspect and visually look at the motor, look at the blades. You need to make sure that nothing has been damaged. Another thing you need to do is if you have propane, you need to look at your propane tank, make sure it's not empty. If you have natural gas, you need to make sure that you go out to your meter, make sure that it's not locked, okay? That means this right here, this little valve that you would turn to open and close the gas going to the meter. You need to make sure it's straight up and down. You need to make sure it's not in line right here and it doesn't have a tag and it's not locked out, okay? Because if you didn't pay your gas bill, you forgot, then it will be locked out. So this is a float switch, and not all equipment has a float switch. Usually we install float switches on split systems where the furnace is inside, maybe in an attic, maybe it's above your ceiling, or it's in your basement, and you have a pan underneath your furnace or your air handler, and then this float switch is installed in the pan. Now, when you have a drain situation where your drain is stopped up, then this keeps the pan from getting overflowing water out of it into your floor. And the float switch is great for preventing that type of issue, but it can cause your thermostat to go blank, okay? Because it cuts the power to the thermostat. Usually it cuts the power to the 24 volts. So if you ever have a thermostat that goes blank, you need to check your drain pan. Make sure that if your drain pan is full of water, then you can actually probably eliminate that situation if you do have a shop vac handy, and that's something that can save you a little bit of time and some money. Maybe you can get your equipment running. Maybe it wasn't the drain that was stopped up. Maybe you actually have a equipment issue where you have low refrigerant and your coil's freezing up. You may still need a technician, but this right here is a float switch, and this is a common issue that I run into on a yearly basis. Several customers, hey, my thermostat's blank. Okay, well, he has a pan, it's full of water, the drain's not hooked up properly, or the drain's stopped up, or the unit's freezing up. Different things like that. This is an issue, and this is something you need to check. And this is some things that you can do to try to help you. The more information you give the technician, the better off it is for the technician. If you guys want more videos, I definitely want to help you to learn more, to try to save money on your electric bill. So go check out videos like, why is my air conditioner running all the time? If you're watching Tips for Homeowners, I'll keep you cool if you let me.